Am I the a-hole? Dad's girlfriend gets nothing. My 36 female dad was always mean, bad-tempered, abusive, bullied anyone who would stand for it, which unfortunately included Mom, who was completely cowed by the time my brother and I were old enough to get out of Dodge. Our homes were always open to her, but to him, not so much. Then last year, he outdid himself. After a heart attack Mom devotedly nursed him through, he decided he had never really lived. Threw Mom out of the house they owned in joint names. She came to me and we were glad to have her, and moved in a girl known in the family as Dad's bimbo. Never held a job, no qualifications whatsoever, which is quite difficult to do in the school all the local families went to, including ours, at exactly 1/3 his age. I refused to believe she was attracted to him, the stereotypical bad-tempered, overweight, red-faced gammon. Well, sucks to be the bimbo. He had another heart attack last month, and died intestate. Under English intestate rules, the house is Mom's automatically, and the relatively small size of the rest of the estate means she gets all of that too. The bimbo, of course, gets nothing. So we went in, emptied the house of portable valuables, replaced Dad's big screen with a small portable, and served her 28 days notice to leave. She's blowing up about her rights all over social media in the small rural town we live in. We don't care. She says she gave up the council flat to move in with him and can't get it back. We don't care. She gambled and lost. Now she says she's pregnant. We don't believe her. It hasn't stopped her smoking and drinking. My husband thinks we ought to find out if she is carrying our half-sibling. We don't care. Even if she is, the kid is entitled to exactly 1/3 of what me and my brother are sharing, which is nothing. So are we the a-hole for ignoring this woman's alleged child? This is England, so she won't end up on the streets, but she won't get my mom's house and garden either. Now for the top comments. Not a a-hole. I like your style. In fact, I'd go one further and tell her that if she is pregnant and she won't stop smoking and drinking, then you'll have no option but to report her to your local social services department, who will investigate if they need to get a child protection order when the baby is born. That should get the truth out of her. I should point out that I don't think she is pregnant either, nor is that something social services may be willing to do. But she won't know that. Honestly, doubt she's even having a child as well. She's probably just saying that to draw you guys in. It's a bit invasive, but if she wants to make a stink, get a court order to have her tested for pregnancy, and if she is, then report her for drinking while pregnant. Not an a-hole. Call her bluff. Take a pregnancy test to her. Do not believe her saying that she went to a doctor. Tell her you need to see said proof of pregnancy right now. If she is, let her know a DNA test is needed for proof that said child belongs to your dad. She still needs to vacate the property with a proper eviction notice. I would address her social media rants with, "Oh, you have rights as a mistress to a known married man? Please show us where." Always call people out on their bluffs. Everyone sucks here. You clearly have some issues with an absolute stunning and skin-crawling level of misogyny and hatred towards women. The level of hatred for and objectification of your late father's girlfriend in this post makes me seriously fear for women around you. You sound like the next incel mass murderer. Get help. It seems to me you have reading comprehension problems. The OP is a woman, and the dislike is towards one person, not women in general. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepson that my love is conditional? My late husband Derek, 56, and I, 52, have 2 children, 14 and 16 together, and one stepchild, Damon, 28, Derek's son from a previous marriage. Damon has never gotten along with me, and I've come to terms with this long ago. I tried bonding, I tried backing off, I did everything but divorce his father. When his father was alive and he lived with us, Damon would tell me he hated me, tell his therapist he wished I was dead, begged his father to divorce me, and told his siblings he couldn't wait to move away to Israel and never see them again. He was 16 to 23 when this happened. I had grown to strongly dislike Damon, and would do my best not to involve myself with much of anything to do with him. When he left, I thought he'd mature and grow to change and accept us, or at least be cordial, but he cut all contact with me and only communicated with his father. Derek passed last August, and it's been rough on me and the kids. The home is taken care of, and it was Derek's wish to hand it down to Damon. Damon wanted us to leave right away, and I asked for a month to find a home, and he obliged. During this time, I tried to offer sympathy for his father's loss, but he wouldn't have any of it. so I gave up to dance, as the song was clearly long over. I moved into a 3-bedroom for my kids and myself and left a home to Damon, with all of his deceased mother's items, his father's possessions besides my wedding ring, and some pictures. I thought this would be the last I heard of him. Until recently. He called asking to meet, and I humored him. He said that he wanted to try again and be a family. I asked if he meant he'd like to see his siblings. Nope. He said he wanted to have a mother and son relationship with me, as he knew I loved him no matter what, and that his father would want us to reconcile. He didn't even offer an apology, and suggested we simply forgive and forget. I told him that the time for reconciliation was long gone, and if he wished to see his siblings, he could if that's what they wanted. But my love was conditional, and I have none for him. He was quite upset after, and he sent me multiple messages through other family members calling me a spiteful witch. Derek's side of the family believes I'm depriving him of a second chance over what he said when he was angry, and they said a mother is supposed to love her kids no matter what. Am I the a-hole for telling him my love is conditional? I was ready to call you an a-hole assuming this was a child, but this is a grown man who kicked you out of your home. Not an a-hole. And honestly, side-eyeing the kind of man who wouldn't leave his estate to his wife before his kids. Not an a-hole. He wants something. Tread very lightly. Yep, that's what I read too. Opie, watch your back. Not an a-hole. And the cynical side of me wonders what his real motives were to suggest a relationship with you. Such a complete U-turn after years of detesting you feels a bit off to me. I am assuming he is in a relationship to someone who has close relationship with her sibling/step-parent, and he is trying to position himself as being that type of person as well. Imagine being 28, kicking your siblings out of their home, and then assuming the love of a step-parent you treated like trash would be unconditional. Not today, Opie. Maybe not. Assuming that you came into his life when he was 16 and then had 2 children soon after. Not sure when his mother died, but he probably felt as if him and his mom were replacing him. As a parent, it was your duty to make sure to develop a relationship and to never give up on trying. As an adult, you had a power in this situation. The post does not paint a picture of how you treated him. Your account can never give us a whole picture. Your husband was the a-hole for leaving your family home to only one child, and Derek was an A for having you move out. But he did reach out and you shut him down directly. He's still your kid. I guess you're the a-hole is my final conclusion. How could Damon be Opie's kid if he never considered Opie to be his mom in the first place? Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make an exception for my brother's son to attend my child-free wedding, just because he's a rainbow baby? Hi. I, female 33, am getting married come October to my fiancé Derek. Wedding planning went okay. But as soon as we started sending out invitations, the problems began coming our way. Thing is, Derek and I decided the wedding would be child-free. It wasn't out of the blue, and this possibility was there. We have a 42-year-old brother, Paul, who's married, but he and his wife suffered from several miscarriages and failed pregnancies during their marriage. They finally were blessed with a son that everyone calls a miracle and a rainbow baby. My nephew is 4 years old, and everyone salutes him and treats him as a king. It also turned blind eye to any misbehaviors he has, which caused him to become loud, destructive, out of control and punchless. When Paul received the invitation and found out kids weren't included, he and Mom lost it and decided on an urgent meeting with me and Derek. Paul said, "My son is an exception, right?" I said no, and this rule is to be followed by everyone. He argued that I was making a mistake by excluding my nephew. He and Mom went on about how he's a miracle since he's their rainbow baby/grandbaby. Then Paul said he had no problem with my wedding being child-free, but expects me to make an exception for his son. He explicitly said, "You can have your child-free wedding, but you're gonna have to make an exception for my son, and you know why." Derek apologized and said we won't, since our friends that by-in-laws had kids too but now have to leave them home and arrange for babysitters, and advised him to do the same. Paul was offended, and said if his son isn't invited then he won't come, and gave us an ultimatum to drop out if we don't edit his invitation. That caused my family to freak out because Paul is the only and oldest sibling I have, and they said his presence at the wedding is a must. I had an argument with Mom and Dad, who said the fact I'm choosing this to be my hill to die on and treating Paul and my nephew like that was appalling. They emphasized how my nephew is special, and I should be ashamed to exclude him even if the wedding is child-free. My parents said that if Paul won't come, they won't come either, which devastated me a lot and caused me to break down. Derek said they were the ones being unreasonable and disrespectful of our wedding, and we should wait, maybe they'll come around eventually. But they've doubled down. This morning my aunt and uncle dropped out, as well as my other uncle last week. Paul told everyone, and they're supporting him and won't come unless I make an exception for my nephew. But that will upset my guests, and they'll call me hypocrite. My family's divided, saying I'm ruining my own wedding, basically saying this is all on me. Added to add because I see this question asked a lot. My family have normalized this behavior from Paul and also his wife. Whenever I point out how unacceptable it is to expect everyone to cater to my nephew and his parents, Paul would chime in with, "She's jealous," because he and his wife have a kid while I can't/don't. I was married before meeting Derek. I divorced my ex-husband for my inability to have kids, but that's another story. Not today, home. You are not the one dying on this hill. Your brother is, and he's involving the rest of the family. If your family cares more about whether a 4-year-old gets to go to a wedding and/a reception, which as the only child there won't be any fun for him, than they do about celebrating you and your new husband, then that will make the decision about which family to spend holidays with that much easier. You're not being malicious. You are making a decision about your guest list. Your wedding is about you and your fiancé. It is not about your nephew, or your brother and his wife. The fact that they are making it about them is absolutely shameful. Thank you for your input. Fact is, there were easy options/routes for Paul to take, like getting a babysitter like Derek suggested, but Paul got extremely offended and agitated, talking about how his son isn't the same as other kids, and how he never required a babysitter before. Derek kept rolling his eyes, but not out of disrespect for my nephew, but because of the way Paul spoke. Paul called Derek disrespectful, and he then gave us an ultimatum. It's a shame, and I definitely didn't expect this reaction from them. His son isn't the same as other kids. Paul is right in this. His son is going to be the biggest spoiled a-hole ever if your family keeps up this treatment and attitude. I'm sorry for their prior losses, but rainbow babies are not exactly unique. That's why there is a somewhat common term used to describe the situation. This one is their rainbow baby, but he's still a kid. And you've said your wedding will have no kids. Frankly, as someone else commented, this will make holidays much easier as you'll always know which family to spend them with. That is, Derek's side. Just invite your family. Celebrate your wedding the way you and Derek want and enjoy your life without them. When you choose to have a child-free wedding, you have to accept that some guests will not be able to come or won't want to come. You are in essence saying that you are willing to exclude some guests in order to have the child-free wedding you want. Not today, home. Your family are the main a-holes here, but you had to have known this could be the result with these people. You set the rules here, and they're following them. You can't be surprised or mad about it now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend her kids not having a dad isn't my problem? I've been friends with Stacy since we were in elementary school. When Stacy was in her early 20s, she was a wild party girl and ended up getting pregnant twice. Before anybody asks, it was consensual. She just liked going to parties. I helped her look for the father of both kids, but many paternity tests later, she still doesn't know. I'm the godmother of both of her kids, and I love them to bits. My son's birthday is next week, which is allowed where we live, and Stacy asked me if my friends don't bring their husbands. I was very confused and asked why. And Stacy told me her eldest daughter has been going through grief that she doesn't have a father in her life. Stacy didn't want her daughter to see the kids being happy with their dads. I felt terrible, but I told her I'm not going to do that, since my husband and I are friends with them. She then had the audacity to call me selfish, and I told her, I'm sorry, but my godkid's not having a dad isn't anybody else's problem but yours. Am I the a-hole? Maybe you could have worded it a little better at the end, but you were definitely not the a-hole. I always felt like I enabled Stacy because I was always excusing her behavior. I know it sounded harsh, but I felt like she needed a reality check. No kidding. I mean, she had not one but 2 pregnancies, where she has not even a clue who the dad is? That's insane. Not today, home. That's honestly quite entitled of Stacy. She can't expect the rest of the world to pretend to be fatherless just because her kids are. I have no issue with partying and casual hookups, but honestly, this is extremely irresponsible on her end. Obviously, I don't know the details of her encounters, and birth control can fail, rubbers can break. But you'd think after the first oopsie pregnancy, she would be a little more careful. Stacy thought you couldn't get pregnant if you weren't ovulating, or if you do it upside down. She's an amazing mother other than that. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not rescheduling my party because it's on my dad's wedding anniversary? Okay, so when I was a kid, my dad got married to my stepmom 2 days after my birthday, which in itself wouldn't be a big deal. But it was a destination wedding, so I had to spend my 13th birthday packing and traveling. Which, whatever. It's only one birthday. Then when I was still a teenager, my dad's side of the family would just celebrate my birthday the weekend before, because of his anniversary. Again, no big deal. Then I'd celebrate with my mom on my birthday. My 25th is coming up and I decided to have a cookout at my house to celebrate and to show them my new place since I moved. I invited some friends, my mom and stepdad and grandparents. I invited my dad and stepmom to be nice, even though I didn't really expect them to come. Well, he called me yesterday and asked me to have it the weekend after instead because he'd be out of town. I said no. Then he pressed more and asked, why not? What's the big deal if you celebrate on the actual or not? It's not like you're a kid. You should grow up and be flexible. I said no. I want to celebrate on my actual birthday. You chose your wedding date. I didn't choose my birthday. I guess he called me grandma, and she agreed with me that I didn't choose to be born then, but said it's his anniversary, so I should just be nice and have it a different day because he wants to come but can't. Am I the a-hole if I keep it planned for the same day? I just feel like my dad made his bed, and now he can sleep in it. Not the a-hole. You didn't choose to be born on a specific day. Your dad decided to get married on a specific day. Our daughter was born on our anniversary, and you know what we did? We celebrated the weekend after. Her birthday came first to us. When we got married, we chose the weekend after also, as we didn't want her to have to share her birthday with our anniversary. We got to choose the date for our wedding, and it was only right that we kept the celebration separate. Dad's an a-hole for picking himself, and not making any compromises at all, and expecting everyone else to change things around. Celebrate without him. You'd probably have a better day anyway.
Update. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my wheelchair-bound best friend in a mall parking lot? Original post. I've been friends with Amy for about 11 years. 3 years ago, she was involved in a car accident, which left her wheelchair-bound. I'm 16 now, and I've been her best friend since I was 5. Her crash was a rough time for me personally as well, of course not as rough as hers, since my friend was in a car crash. And I had just lost my dog. But I put her ahead of losing my dog, even though 13-year-old me was wrecked, and tried my best to be her rock while she was going through tough times. After she got better, we hung out and things were the same as before. Just that, as time went on, I felt like the power balance wasn't equal anymore. I was always taking care of her, and everything had to go her way. To an extent, I was okay with this, since I couldn't fathom going through what she was going through. So I kept my mouth shut and was there for her. Every phone call, every text, every "can you do this for me?" I did it. But at one point I found that I held some resentment toward her. And this grew as everyone around me just expected me to take care of her. I couldn't do certain things because it reminded her of when she could walk. And I couldn't hang out with other people because she felt like she was losing me. I had to get up whenever she wanted something. Pick up whatever food she ordered, tie her shoelaces, carry her bags around, walk her dog, take her things to class and so on. Whenever I complained or tried to vent, I was always hit with, "But imagine what she's going through, poor thing." And so, the resentment grew and grew. This blew up yesterday. We were at the mall picking things out, even though because of my asthma I really didn't want to go out, and she got caught with some unpaid clothes in her bag. She just blamed me in front of everyone in the store, and only when the security camera showed her putting something in her bag did she admit to lying. I was furious, and after I called a car for her, I told her, "Stay away from me and find someone else to take care of your lazy butt, since I'm not your freaking mom," and left her in the surprisingly well-lit parking lot. Her mother, who was absent through a lot of this time due to God knows what, phoned my mother, saying I broke her daughter's heart and abandoned her in a parking lot. And everyone, except for my dad, is telling me that I crossed the line and put her in danger. and to put myself in her shoes. Everyone is telling me that I'm not a true friend and that I'm selfish. It's kind of getting in my head, and I don't know if I'm as right as I thought I was. Sorry about how long this is. This was about 2.5 years worth of venting. But am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Apart from the justifiable resentment, she committed a crime and tried to blame it on you. That has nothing to do with her being disabled and everything to do with her having no morals and no regard for you. And the "you can't do this because I can't" and "you can't have other friends because me" is so selfish and manipulative. This person is not a friend. Tell everyone she framed you for theft, despite being her unpaid full-time caretaker for almost 3 years. I'm fuming. Exactly. I'd get out in front of her and tell the actual story before the friend can paint a picture in which she's the innocent victim and OP is this evil person who abandoned the poor, helpless girl. Not the a-hole. Someone here is not a true friend, and it isn't you. She has taken advantage of you and topped it off by trying to blame you for her own crime. This person is not someone you need in your life. Yep, not the a-hole. And by the way, she's wheelchair-bound. She's not an invalid. She has the mental capacity to take of herself at a mall parking lot for 20 minutes till her ride shows up. Sounds to me like she got used to 3 years of a personal servant and everyone else bending over backwards for her, and she ended up with a huge entitlement complex. Stealing clothes and blaming it on her friend is definitely an entitled thing to do, especially because it sounds like she could get her jelly spine parents to give her however much money she needed for any clothes she wants. The fact that the people around OP and her are still insisting that OP stay her personal servant just means that entitlement will stay and get worse. Either that, or now that the people around them don't have a convenient person to force to be her personal servant, she'll actually have to do stuff for herself. I honestly think that everyone who brushed off OP's complaints with, "Imagine what she's going through," is just as bad as her, as it seems like they couldn't be bothered to take care of her, so they made OP do it. Now for the update. I did not expect this much attention, so this was very unexpected. Thank you guys for being so nice to me and for giving me advice. I really appreciate it. 1. Sorry about the term wheelchair-bound. I didn't know that was offensive, and I never really talked to her about her wheelchair. It's a sensitive topic for her, and I didn't want to push, so I never really learned the correct terminology. I can't change the title, but I'm sorry. 2. Dog thing. Yeah, my resentment kinda started with my dog being forgotten. While it is nothing compared to what she went through, I really like the dog, and I had to bury him myself, which started my unjustified and immature resentment. I was mad no one even talked about the dog. Totally petty, but honestly, that started it. 3. I never really resolved my resentment, which is my bad, because in the place I live, it's horrible for people with disabilities. As I accompanied her in her life, it gave me some insight into how hard life was for people who couldn't walk, and so my resentment would be suppressed with this feeling of gratefulness for my ableness. 4. I left her at the exit of the parking lot, and there were glass doors to the outside. She had her phone, which she could use to call her mother. Don't know if she did though. And there was security within yelling reach. She could move around. Still, it wasn't great leaving her like that. It wasn't cool, and I could have hurt her. Also, for those wondering, the car was the car we took to get to the mall, so we knew the driver and it fit her wheelchair. So what I did, I told my parents the full story. My mother was fuming when she called Amy's parents, and they said they would talk to her. I also called everyone who was against me, so I could tell them the full story without having to be mean or unnecessarily public. Most of them quickly gave me the "not the a-hole." I called her too, and told her that leaving her in the parking lot was wrong, but I wouldn't apologize for it, as I could not forgive her for what she did. I told her to take care of herself from now on, and that I wouldn't be her friend anymore. My dad got me a new dog, and my parents hosted a real burial for my last dog, just the 3 of us, but it helped me a lot. My dad told me he was proud of me for what I did, and talked to me about boundaries and how important they are. In all honesty, I'm sort of glad this happened, so I wouldn't have stayed friends with her any longer. I learned a lot about boundaries, toxic friendships, and how to talk about my emotions. Thank you guys for being so supportive. I really didn't expect this many people to read this, but thank you. I'm not friends with her anymore, but I've got my dog, so it's fine. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking an Uber home instead of sitting on a man's lap? So my best friend, Sarah female 22, recently got a new boyfriend, James male 23, and she is over the moon about him. Sarah is one of the very few people I hang out with. She recently met James' friend group, a group of guys, and they invited her to go on a beach trip with them. Sarah begged me to go with her and kept insisting I join, even when I declined the offer about 4 times. Eventually, I just agreed to go to get her off my back about being sad and alone. I was told that I would have a ride. Sarah and I were the last to be picked up, and when they pulled up, there were 4 guys in a 5-passenger car. I saw this as my way out. I said, "Oh, looks like there isn't enough room for both of us. You can go enjoy the beach with your boyfriend. I don't mind staying behind." Sarah told me that it wasn't a big deal if she had to sit on James's lap to make it work. Immediately, I felt on edge. Turns out, James was the one driving and said he wouldn't trust anyone else to drive his car. He told me that I would be the one sitting on someone's lap because there's no way he would let Sarah do that. I didn't know these guys at all. I pulled Sarah aside and told her that I was uncomfortable, thinking that she would help me out. Instead, she encouraged me, saying that she thought I would have fun and maybe even get a date. She is so into James and had been talking about this trip nonstop for over a week, so I decided to just do it to make her happy. 2 of the 3 guys in the back, Sarah sat up front next to James, offered up their laps. I just picked the guy with the most legroom. We live about 45 minutes from the nearest beach, so I thought it wouldn't be too bad. Except that I was told on the drive that we were actually going to a beach an hour and a half away instead. My mood just became more and more sour. I never once relaxed and eventually found myself quietly fuming once my emotions set in. The boys I was squeezed into the back with just talked around me, physically leaning over me constantly, brushing up against me. Once we got to the beach, we sat up, and I finally found a moment to relax. I ate a sandwich I packed and read a book, while Sarah and James were lovey-dovey, and the guys messed around in the ocean. I was asked twice why I only packed a sandwich for myself. Not jokingly either. Not once had I been asked to bring a single thing. When it came to the part where everyone was getting in the car, I just told James and Sarah that I had called an Uber to pick me up, because I didn't want to sit on anyone's lap for another hour and a half. Sarah tried to argue, but my ride showed up, so I left. I got a call from Sarah a few hours later. She called me a bad friend for ditching everyone. When I told her how the whole day was making me feel awful, she told me I was being selfish and that I had been acting like a bee all day. I do not think I deserve that, but I am also pretty paranoid that I did something wrong. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I wouldn't do that regardless of who I know in the car or our genders in case the car crashes. That said, if you weren't against the lap-sitting idea in general, why didn't you suggest sitting on Sarah's lap or vice versa? Sarah is a very petite girl, so I suggested that she sit on my lap, which she was against because she wanted me to get out there. Geez, that almost makes it sound like she wanted to set you up with one of them. Or she just didn't want to share a seat and was making excuses. Anyway, if you don't fancy becoming a human missile one day, please don't travel like this again. Not the a-hole. Apparently, being Sarah's friend means being okay with whatever sacrifices you need to make in order to make her happy. Ditch her. She is not your friend. And the sandwich thing too. As if she owed them anything at all after how disrespectful they were. Ignore them all. Get your own food. Learn some manners. Not the a-hole, but please use this as a sign to respect your gut instinct about your boundaries. Don't get in the metaphorical car next time. Also, please understand that sitting on people's laps and or not wearing seat belts in cars could kill you. I used to keep my leg propped up on the dash on long trips sometimes. Then I saw a Reddit post with the x-rays of people who did that and got into a car accident. Safety first. My heroin-addicted second cousin's baby mama got her hips shattered when they crashed. Boy did cuz know a good way to change an otherwise not at fault accident into an at fault accident. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my coworker a ride after he didn't spot me $1 at the vending machine? I usually give my coworker a ride on the way back from work, usually driving 5 miles out of my way per day to drop him off at his place because he doesn't have a car. I've been doing that for about 2 years now and haven't asked for anything, and he has never offered. Yesterday, I was at the vending machine and wanted a soda. I was short $1 and had left my wallet in my car. I would usually go get my wallet, but it takes forever to wait for the elevators at my workplace, so I asked if he could spot me $1 for the soda. He straight up refused and said, "Just use your own money, man. I don't really give money to friends or coworkers. Sorry." I was taken aback by that comment because I've probably spent well over $1,500 in gas over the past 2 years for this guy, and he can't even spot me $1 just this once? I got pretty upset by that, and once it hit 5, I told him I'm not giving him free rides anymore. He seemed upset and said I was petty. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You asked him for a small favor and he refused and shamed you. You have no obligation to keep offering him a ride, though you should know that this will drastically deteriorate your relationship and they will make a big deal of it. Thankfully, we work in completely different departments. I don't think you should worry about what the others say. You can repeat this story to other people and say that you have learned a lesson not to be nice to colleagues. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't even call it petty in my humble opinion. The coworker doesn't believe in involving money with friends. Not a terrible idea, but completely ignores all the money you've spent on him over time? I would imagine, even if he originally was, he was no longer appreciative of the rides and more so expect them. I think it would be best to no longer give rides as a favor and charge full value if you want to continue giving them. He's made it clear they would not do the same for you. Side note, my brother used to be a server at a restaurant and gave a dishwasher a ride home for weeks. He never asked for anything, but did it just to help out. He only stopped after he watched that dishwasher take money off his table while bussing it. Good deeds are great, but always be mindful of your surroundings. Sometimes the cookie just isn't enough for the mouse. Plus, OP only mentioned the cost of gas. What about the wear and tear on the car? 5 miles Monday to Friday for 2 years? Adds up. The time spent also adds up. Dude owed OP like over $3,000 and couldn't spare $1. He could have just lied and said he didn't have it. But nah, dude wanted to shame him. Sorry man, I don't give rides to coworkers, only friends. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to switch my vacation dates because my coworker has kids? I, 30 male, put in my vacation request months ago for a specific week. I made plans, booked flights, and was looking forward to it. Everything was approved by our manager with no issues. Last week, my coworker Lisa, 35 female, found out that her kid's school break falls during the same week. She came to me and asked if I'd be willing to swap my vacation for a different time, so she could take her kids on a trip. I told her I was sorry, but I had already made non-refundable bookings and didn't want to change my plans. She got frustrated and said, "It must be nice to have so much flexibility," implying that since I don't have kids, my plans aren't as important. I told her that just because I don't have kids doesn't mean my time off is any less valuable. Now she's giving me the cold shoulder at work, and another co-worker mentioned that I could have been more understanding. But I don't think it's fair to expect me to give up my plans just because she has kids. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's delusional. Even if you show her receipts and show her how much it would cost you to reschedule, she's still gonna dislike you. Just make sure to document everything in case she starts creating a hostile work environment. This, and I'm saying this as a mother, she had her kids' school schedule since August 2024 at the latest. Her failure to plan isn't your problem, not the a-hole. This, spring break is never casually decided the month before. She's known, or she doesn't pay attention enough to have known. What flexibility? You booked your holiday and it is non-refundable. If anything, this is completely non-flexible. Even if the tickets were refundable, still zero obligation for OP to give up the time. Perhaps he's traveling with someone else who would then have to deal with switching around their own time off. No is a complete sentence. OP doesn't owe Lisa an explanation. Her poor planning is not OP's problem. I've been talked to by HR at my only office job about rescheduling vacation days too much and how it makes it difficult on the business to work around me flippantly changing vacation dates. I changed 2 vacations last minute because a coworker had a funeral come up and another coworker suddenly got his kids for a week, and I was just burning my vacation before year end and playing video games. Management and HR just see vacations being changed last minute and no reason why it is happening.